Okay, good morning, everyone. I hope you had a good sleep last night and energetic to attend the class. Okay, before today's talk, I would like to quickly recap. Yesterday, we began to look at the Madhyamaka school, which is one of the three major schools of Mahayana Buddhism. These different schools have different approaches to explaining how things come to be. These schools share common terms, but they attach different interpretations. So it is important attached to different interpretations. So it is important to understand these differences to avoid confusion. The representative texts of middle way school are mainly the Prajnaparamita Sutras and their associated commentaries. A key teaching in the Prajnaparamita texts is emptiness or no intrinsic nature. In other words, all things arise from causes and conditions. We talked about this yesterday. Emptiness or no intrinsic nature does not mean that nothing exists. This is where we will pick up the class. Don't worry if it is a bit deep. Just listen attentively and let it slowly grow within you. When the proper causes and conditions converge, phenomena manifest. When these conditions shift or dissolve, the phenomena cease to exist. Through understanding dependent origination and emptiness, we come to see that all things, including ourselves, lack permanent, independent existence. This profound insight liberates us from clinging to life and death, since we recognize this as merely shifts in the ever-changing web of conditions. Yet, this same understanding also prevents us from grasping at nirvana as some fixed state of escape. This balanced perspective, neither attached to samsara nor clinging to nirvana, opens the middle way. Free from both extremes, one can wholeheartedly engage in bodhisattva practices, working for the benefit of all sentient beings, while understanding the empty nature of both helper and helped. Sorry. Through this non-attached compassionate action, one naturally progresses toward the realization of Buddhahood. This is the slide we concluded with in yesterday's lesson, and this is where we will begin today. So as we can see on the screen, the code says all things become possible for one who realizes emptiness. Or if one can realize this emptiness, then all things fall into place. I changed the code a little bit, right? So that I hope this make more sense for you. it's it's impossible, I think. So this reveals a profound truth. Precisely because phenomena are empty of inherent existence, they can arise through dependent origination. Emptiness does not negate reality. It makes reality possible. When we understand that all things lack fixed essence, we see how they can manifest through the web of causes and conditions. Thus, emptiness and dependent co-arising are not contradictory but mutually supportive principles that together establish the existence of phenomena. So what the teaching from Mula Madhyamaka and Vigraha Vyavatani shows is, in terms of worldly dependent designation, dharmas manifest as illusions. In terms of ultimate truth, having no intrinsic nature, everything is empty. Manifestation like illusions do not contradict emptiness, and emptiness does not hinder such illusory manifestation. Emptiness and dependent constructs do not hinder one another. Emptiness pertains to ultimate truth, whereas dependent construct belong to conventional truths. These two truths are mutually non-obstructive. Now we should begin discussing Prajna Paramita. In chapter 5 of The Way to Buddhahood, the verse says, Prajna Paramita is most noble and superior. Liberation depends upon it. All Buddha are born from it. This verse praises the wonderful virtues that arise from Prajna Paramita. Prajna Paramita is the most honorable and supreme among all undefiled virtues. In the sutras, there are countless praises concerning Prajna Paramita. You may wonder what makes Prajna Paramita so special that it gets this kind of honor and respect. Each virtue in the Buddha Dharma has its unique and outstanding qualities, and each virtue is worthy of respect. The virtue of prajna has the quality of being the core, root, or foundation of the Buddha Dharma. It is this special aspect that makes prajna extremely worthy of honor and respect. Prajna is the dividing line between ordinary people and sages, and the worldly and transcendental states. What this means is that the difference between an enlightened sage and ordinary people is that sages possess prajna, or transcendental wisdom. Regarding spiritual practices, The distinction between worldly and transcendental approaches depends on whether they are informed by or rooted in prajna. In the Mahaprajnaparamita Sutra, it says, if one wants to learn the Shravaka path, they should learn Prajnaparamita. If one wants to learn the Pratyeka Buddha path, they should learn Prajnaparamita. If one wants to learn the Bodhisattva path, they should learn Prajnaparamita. Okay. So in summary, all transcendental or undefiled virtues and the sages of the three vehicles rely on Prajnaparamita to exist. Without Prajnaparamita, there will be no awakened sages and no undefiled virtues. Therefore, compared to all other spiritual practices and virtues in this world, the true aspect that makes the Buddha Dharma most superior is the virtue of Prajnaparamita. All transcendental dharmas and sages have prajna as their foundation. Therefore, prajna is the foundation for liberation in the three vehicles, and all the sages of the three vehicles rely on prajna to gain liberation from cyclic existence. All Buddhas are also born from prajna. So this is the meaning that the verse conveys. So this is why the Prajnaparamita Sutra praises prajna is the mother of Buddhas. For example, in the Mahaprajnaparamita Sutra, it says, perfection of prajna can give birth to all Buddhas. And in the Vimanakirti Nidesha Sutra, it says, the prajna, wisdom, is the mother of bodhisattva, while upaya, skillful means, is the father. Given the above, prajna is the mother that gives birth to the sages of the two vehicles, and also the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. In this case, is prajna prajna practice belonging to the Shravakayana or Mahayana. From the aspect of giving rise to awakened sages, prajna is a common practice across all three vehicles, and this is the broad meaning of prajna. Specifically from the aspect of relying on prajna to awaken to the nature of emptiness, both Shravaka and the Bodhisattva practitioners realize emptiness. But the emptiness realized by a Shravaka is likened to the space within a single pore, whereas the emptiness awakened to by bodhisattvas is compared to the vastness of sky. Nevertheless, the fundamental essence of the emptiness realized by both remains identical. Okay? Here is another analogy for you. which is the simile of three types of animals crossing a river. Have you heard of this? No? Okay. All three uh, type of animal reach the other shore. This represent the common awakening to the truth of emptiness. However, a key distinction lies in the depths of immersion during the river crossing, representing diverse level of awakening. Only the only the elephant, being the largest of the three animals, can touch the riverbed. This symbolizes the complete and perfect realization of the truth of all dharmas. Based on this explanation, the wisdom of the three vehicles exhibits differences in skill and depth, but the fundamental essence of prajna remains the same. Given this broad understanding, prajna belongs to all three vehicles. Um, but beyond this broad meaning, there is also a profound meaning of prajna, in which true prajna belongs exclusively to the bodhisattvas. This can be explained through the simile of a royal family. When a king and his consort have a child, the mother's status depends on the child, the prince, right? Under this profound meaning or explanation, prajna, accords to the Bodhisattva, is guided by great compassion and is supported by the other five paramitas. This prajna embraces and guides all virtues towards the direction of Buddhahood. In this respect, prajna only belongs to the bodhisattvas and can give birth to the Buddha. When the bodhisattva awakens to the nature of emptiness through prajna, they do not fall into the Shravakayana's tendency of attaching to emptiness. In contrast, prajna becomes a skillful means that embraces and guides all other virtues. This means that prajna becomes the common quality of all other paramitas. Whether prajna is understood in its broad or profound sense, it remains the distinctive quality of transcendental virtues. Prajna cannot be matched by the virtues of generosity, meditative concentration, and other practices. Prajna is the essential practice that must be accomplished to end cyclic existence and attain Buddhahood. So this is the virtue of prajna paramita. Sometimes I use prajna and sometimes I use prajna paramita. So what's the difference? No difference. Okay. So prajna paramita means perfection of wisdom. Prajna means wisdom. So we need the prajna, and we also need the perfection of wisdom, okay? So prajna means wisdom, and the key point is to perfect the prajna, okay? So that we can become a Buddha. So sometimes I change the terms so that you don't feel bored. Okay, variety. Okay, so any question before we move on to the next verse? Any question? Yes, please. All three animal. The first animal is rabbit, I think. The second one is horse. The third one is elephant. So only the elephant can touch the riverbed, and the horse halfway, right? And the rabbit a bit shallow on the surface. Yeah, but deeper. I'm immersion. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So they all uh, realize the truth. They all reach the other shore. Okay. Yeah. So any other question? No. Good or clear? Okay, I hope so. So what has been presented so far is to highlight the virtue and importance of prajna. Now we should look at how to cultivate prajna, starting with a general overview. Knowing about prajna is one thing, possessing it is another, right? The verse in the way to Buddhahood says, true realization is attained through practice. Practice, in turn, relies on contemplation and learning. Good spiritual guides and proper learning are truly the foundations for cultivating wisdom. Prajna can be grouped into transcendental and worldly prajna. True prajna is the wisdom of realization attained through practice. This means that prajna is something that allows one to personally experience the truth. Here, yeah, welcome. Yeah. Here, the term practice refers to development of insight and tranquility. It is said in the sutras, prajna aligns with the truth, meaning to accord with suchness, and yet it is still. It is very profound and vast. In comparison, ordinary knowledge is weak and shallow, and so it cannot be regarded as prajna. Note that the word prajna is a worldly term that has existed since ancient times and refers to rationality with a discerning nature. However, the transcendental wisdom that enables one to realize ultimate truth did not exist before the Buddha's arrival. Therefore, it is natural that no pre-existing word could represent such transcendental wisdom. So then what should this transcendental wisdom be called? The Buddha is skillful and employed the existing worldly quality of wisdom to guide people towards the higher and profound levels of wisdom, such that they can eventually surpass worldly uh, rational knowledge and realize the transcendental truths themselves. Such transcendental realization arises from the discerning nature of worldly wisdom. Therefore, although transcendental wisdom is something unknown to the world before the Buddha appeared, the word prajna has been selected to represent it. This makes teaching prajna paramita possible, but it should be known that true prajna is not something that worldly rational knowledge can even compare with. Realization of the truth as taught in the Buddha Dharma is not something that comes from thin air. Okay? Instead, it is equipped with skillful means and based on causes and conditions. What this means is that realization of the truth is not possible without the three wisdoms of learning, contemplation, and practice. This wisdom or realization is gained when the wisdom resulting from practice is further cultivated. The wisdom resulting from practice is an inside wisdom that accords with tranquility. The wisdom of practice is not cultivated blindly. It must rely on the wisdom gained through contemplation to engage in profound reflection and discernment of the Dharma's meaning, which then serves as the object for insight meditation. The wisdom of contemplation in turn arises from the wisdom resulting from learning. Learning means to learn from Buddha directly, to learn from Buddha's disciple, or to learn from sutras. The wisdoms of learning, contemplation, and practice can be further explained in detail, namely with the 10 Dharma practices, which are writing out the Dharma, making offerings to the Dharma, gifting Dharma texts to others, learning attentively while others recite Dharma, reading the Dharma oneself, upholding the Dharma, explaining the Dharma to others properly, recollecting the Dharma, contemplating the Dharma, practicing the Dharma through insight meditation. The Buddha Dharma is something that must be practiced in accordance with the teachings from the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. In other words, the Buddha Dharma embodies the process of developing the three wisdoms. This is particularly true for prajna, which cannot be accomplished without the stages of learning, contemplation, and practice. In summary, true prajna and the three wisdoms are also referred to as three types of prajna. Wisdom of realization is true prajna, which is a transcendental prajna. The wisdom of practice and contemplation make up insight prajna, while the wisdoms of contemplation and the learning combine to be discourse prajna. Note that the wisdom of contemplation has aspects that rely on learning through discourses and aspects that do not rely on discourses. The wisdoms of learning, contemplation, and practice are worldly types of prajna. They form the causes and conditions for the attainment of transcendental prajna. So, based on the results arising from these causes, the three wisdoms are also named prajna. When one, when one wants to cultivate prajna, the sutra and treatise on prajna become the object of one's learning and contemplation. And this is a necessary requisite in the practice of prajna. The skillful methods for beginners when cultivating prajna is to learn and contemplate. Therefore, associating with good spiritual guides and proper learning is essential and must not be lacking. The practices of learning and contemplation are truly the foundations for developing wisdom. On this aspect of proper learning, there are 2 points one must pay attention to. One is that proper learning is not simply to learn about many technical terms, okay? According to the Shravakayana teachings, learning about impermanence and no self constitutes proper learning. Therefore, it is said in the sutra that if a person lives to 100 years but does not understand the law of arising and cessation, it is better to live for just 1 day and gain such understanding. In the Mahayana, proper learning means to learn about the nature of emptiness, the truth of no arising and cessation, etc., like what is taught in the Lankavatara Sutra. Therefore, a good spiritual guide that has proper learning must be able to penetrate the true meaning of the Dharma. 2. Within the Dharma practices, learning relates to listening to the Dharma, reading and reciting, explaining the Dharma, and so on. That is, learning refers to practices based on language to understand the underlying meaning of the Dharma. Therefore, for those who think like cultivating prajna does not require the wisdom of learning, they have made a big mistake. Such thinking does not align with the Buddha Dharma, and these practitioners will end up straying from the teachings in the Tripitaka. Nevertheless, although the wisdom of learning is a must, it is just the beginning stage, and one should make effort to progress toward accomplishing the wisdoms of contemplation and practice. Okay, we still have 10 minutes left. I think it's time for you to ask questions. No. Huh? You want to make more? Yeah, yeah, please.
Do you always need a teacher
Yes.
to explain to you the the sutras?
Yeah, exactly.
Many of the sutras, when you read it on your own, especially if you're a Westerner and you have all that baggage,
Uh-huh.
a lot of that baggage comes into the reading.
Uh-huh.
And then when I meet with Bante Wajin, it's a completely different thing than what I thought it was.
Really?
So
Oh,
I
okay.
need a teacher
Oh, yeah.
teach you.
We need many teachers and compare their answers. You know, they may have different aspects of understanding what you asking about. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, and also they have different experience about your question. So they provide different aspects of answers so that we can have a sort of comprehensive understanding. Does that make sense? Okay. Yeah, yeah. So you can ask more. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Because next slide will be another verse, so that will take a lot of time. So it's better to finish uh, here, and we start in another class. Okay, so so the the meaning of prajna, can you remember? Is transcendental wisdom, right? But it's not something we can't reach. It's not far away, but it's not easy to attain the transcendental wisdom. So just remember, it's not impossible, but it's not easy as well. Okay. So how can we attain the transcendental wisdom? First, we need to learn the Dharma. We listen to the Dharma, study the Dharma teachings, and to gain the correct understanding, very important, right? If we misunderstand the meaning of the teaching, we may go astray, right? So, so it's very important that we attend the Dharma classes. So you are very smart. So it's very important as the first step. And then after we listen to the Dharma teaching, we need to contemplate, or we need to think about how we can practice the teaching. It's very important. So yesterday or today we talk about the wisdom of emptiness, or the wisdom of dependent origination. So how can we practice the teaching? So the way we practice, one possible approach is to observe our conventional world, the relationship between our families and friends. So, for example, a friend we uh, a friend that we are close to one day mm, could be our enemy. Can you understand? One day he or she can do something bad to us because of a certain reason. So, so if we understand the meaning of emptiness or dependent origination, we understand why the friend changed because causes and condition changed, and we can improve the situation. Yeah, so that we can become close friend as usual, right? So we don't get panic when we come across difficulty because we know it can change. Okay, so it's not fixed as long as we give the right causes and conditions, and things will develop uh, in a wholesome direction. Okay, so so and then another important point is to we need to practice meditation so that we can how can I say improve our wisdom. So there's another level of wisdom called wisdom stem from practice. Remember? So the practice means the wisdom accords with tranquility. And once we have the meditative concentration and practice, develop our wisdom, and then we can attain the transcendental wisdom. Okay, and sometimes some people has the experience when they are in the daily life and they have a sudden experience of attaining transcendental wisdom. What does that mean? That means it's possible we are very concentrated just one moment, and at that moment we reached the transcendental wisdom. But many similar experience, which is not which does not mean we attain a transcendental wisdom. Can you understand? Yeah, sometimes it's just a meditative state, not the state where we realize the truth. It is they are similar. So the point we distinguish the difference is to check or examine whether we still have a certain defilement, such as attachment to ourselves, attachment to the wrong practices, or the doubt on the triple gem, etc. Okay, so uh, when we experience something wonderful, don't be too excited. It could be an illusion, or it's not really illusion. It could be the the true experience, or a correct experience on the way to the transcendental experience of the truth. You know what I mean? Yes.
But as an average human, no, I shouldn't say average human, but as a devout Buddhist, do you is it possible to get like glimpses of that wisdom that you're talking about?
Yeah, it
Like,
quite often I think many many Buddhists told me these experiences, but it's based on your daily life practice. You know, if you are in the state of distracted mind, you can't get that experience. But if you can keep your mind concentrated, whether you are working or doing something else, and that experience can often come. Yeah, but it's just the experience that you are on the right track. We are not, we haven't reached the level of transcendental wisdom. Remember, it's not easy, but yeah, 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 go on. Yeah, yeah.
The samadhi that I was thinking.
Uh-huh.
Maybe samadhi is that's the through the meditation that you reach the samadhi.
Yes.
And the wisdom is the we are human being. We deal with people. We deal with the all kind of things. Is coming out with the experience. Deal with that the maybe the strategy.
Yeah.
To deal with the whole things.
Uh-huh.
So
Transcendental wisdom.
train or should be pass or should be pass line or this line or we practice through the practice. I'm very confused.
Okay. Yeah. First of all, the samadhi means meditative concentration. The approach to reach this meditative concentration is different from the approach to developing the wisdom. Can you understand? They are different approaches.
Still sickness.
Yeah, we just focus on the object for developing the meditative concentration. For wisdom, we need to investigate and discern what we come across. You know what I mean? Our mind still need to analyze the phenomena or the situation we come across, and that can help us to reach a certain concentration. You know what I mean? Yeah, different approach. We can focus on object or analyze the phenomena or the status we are in. So we can all reach a certain level of concentration, but different approach. Yeah. So the wisdom of practice means we both have a meditative concentration and um, insight uh, practice. Insight practice, you know what I mean? Yeah. So when the two elements merge and we have the uh, capacity to attain a transcendental wisdom or transcendental uh, truth. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So clear now? Oh, yes, please. Yeah.
But I think a good way to tell what you're experiencing is also to look at your own perception. And I don't know what I mean by that, but you can sort of get an idea that is this really within myself that and it's not a real realization, the ability, because if you perceive things in a certain way, then you can tell it's not a transcendental experience with wisdom.
So you are asking how?
Well, the thing is that when you know you're lost, okay, that you'll be able to tell by your perception. If your perception is like, and everybody around is like, okay, this is not right. You know that you're not right about the experience, right?
So you mean whether we understand this experience is correct or illusion?
Yeah, I mean, if your if your perception feels off, then it's off. So it's not real in any
Okay.
sense.
Well, according to the Diamond Sutra, nothing is real. Well, well, it is depends which level or which aspect we are talking about. All right. So we 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 can experience something wonderful in which we feel uh, bright, bright, happy, still something like that.
Yeah.
But when we go back to our daily life, we we can if we reach the transcendental truth or attain the transcendental wisdom, our defilement, uh, a certain part of disappear. Yeah, disappear. They don't arise anymore, and our compassion become very strong. Yeah. So you won't have a fear about whether y- we can sustain or we can be alive. We can sacrifice at any time.
Answer. I was like, I know I'm confused, but I'm alive.
Okay.
That was realization statement. I don't know.
So you feel scared?
Well, I felt scared, but it was like I was
Yeah,
confused.
it's normal.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we are ordinary people, but we can develop or improve our wisdom so that we don't feel so scared. We know this part of the life, and whether we have cancer or not, we will die someday. It's just different
Yeah, but I was like,
approach.
it's like, at least I could do something about my confusion. If I was dead, I wouldn't be able to do anything.
No, you have next life.
Oh, that's yeah.
Yeah. Remember, you just practice the Buddha's teachings, and you can have a better life next. Yeah, next. So it's painful at the moment. Why now we change another body to have another new life, so that we can practice the Buddha Dharma more smoothly or successfully, right? Yeah. So that's a positive thinking based on emptiness, the truth of emptiness, or the the truth of dependent origination. So this is the way we how can I say practice the teaching. So we need to think about what we come across correctly. Okay. Uh-huh.
Now, being confused might be a weird start, but it was my start.
Don't worry, you'll be fine. Okay. Yeah, you need to have confidence in causes and conditions, or cause and effects, because we have cultivated so many wholesome deeds. So the result must be very positive. Okay, so we need to have the confidence in this teaching. Otherwise, we get scared.
Yeah.
What we will be.
Yeah. Definitely scared of death, but.
But now you don't scare anymore.
Chance to earn merits.
Yeah.
Diagnosis of cancer. And from that, you have survived it.
Yeah.
It's life. You have the opportunity to accrue more merits to go on your path.
Yeah, exactly. And you cherish your life, and you cherish the time. Yeah, you don't waste of your time. You know what I mean? Sorry. I'll take vitamin. Yeah, it's important too. Yes, please.
Go with this topic about impermanence, understanding impermanence, and also about non-self. I think it's in the previous slide.
Yes, impermanent.
Let's say realization of impermanence and non-self.
Oh, it's very beginning, I think.
Just one slide earlier, yeah.
Here. Recap.
This one. Just one slide before this.
Yes.
It's about impermanence.
Yeah.
Nature.
Yeah.
And non-self or anatta,
Yeah.
And it says over there, it is better to live one day than 100 years of not realizing.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
He did say.
Yeah, okay.
It's a beautiful verse.
I just want to elaborate on that.
Okay. Sorry. It's wrong.
It's a verse.
It's a verse. Okay, okay, must be the very here, I think.
Oh, yes.
Oh yeah, if a person lives to 100 years but does not understand the law of arising cessation, it is better to live for just one day and gain such understanding. But maybe another one that you talk about non-self also too. In other words, is it better to understand and accept impermanence and also non-self and be able to just one day in comparison to 100 years of life without understanding impermanence and non-self?
Yes.
Is that what it's trying to imply?
Yeah, exactly. Arising and cessation means impermanent, right? Impermanence. Yeah. Things arise and cease. So it's changing, you know what I mean? So it's not it's not permanence, it's impermanence. And impermanence also has the meaning of non-self or no self. Yeah. So self means we can master everything, but things change all the time. We if we want things stop changing, it's impossible. So it means no self or no intrinsic nature. Can you understand my explanation?
No ego, I guess.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Or no arrogance. Yeah, self-arrogance. Yeah. They are synonym, a different term to interpret the same teaching or the same idea.
Now we're talking about the acceptance of impermanence and acceptance of ego. It's better that way than to live even 100 years not understanding these two qualities.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I think so. Right?
I'm a bit concerned when you say acceptance because
Sorry?
I'm a bit concerned when you
Acceptance.
just say acceptance of
understanding.
because I mean here it's talking about understanding and the deeper implication is to actually realize
to realize the deeper meaning of impermanence. Because when you have that realization, it means you have transcendental wisdom. So therefore, living for just one day and being able to penetrate transcendental wisdom means you're on the way to liberation. But if you live for 100 years without ever having heard about impermanence, you're still stuck in samsara.
Right. It's making a comparison.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I can catch your point. So acceptance, to accept teachings, sometimes just given by our teacher, but we need to understand the meaning and have a confidence in the teaching, or we verify the teaching and we accept. I mean, I know the acceptance means you verify and then accept it. Is that what you meant?
So that is everywhere.
Yes.
Especially when we approach death,
Yeah.
And once you get to accept
Yeah.
the fact that we are all impermanent,
Yes.
you get more comfort in that
Yeah.
you understand that one day all of us are
Yeah.
going to
Yeah.
go there.
Yeah. And
that is very important.
yeah, exactly. And this has different level acceptance. Actually, in the Buddha's teaching, we have different level of acceptance. Yeah. So the shallow level is our teacher teach us the teaching we accept, and the highest level is you realize the teaching, or you realize the underlying truth of the teaching and you accept it. Actually, you have confidence in that teaching. Okay. Okay. I think it's time we should stop. Oh,